Having drawn a few widgets on the screen, you're probably going to find yourself changing the properties of those, maybe change the color scheme, and it's easy to forget that for some of the newer widgets, there's a shortcut built in. The name of that shortcut is the Style Tag. With some of the newer widgets, it allows you to change properties in just one place and have all of the widgets that are using that tag update immediately. Let's take a look at this. In my example, I have a few tags, so I'm going to now draw some equipment, link it to the tags, and let's take a look at how we can adjust the style without needing to go through a lot of different properties. So I'm going to represent a pump being turned on, so I'll open up the pumps folder. I'll just grab one of these pumps, and I'm going to link that to one of my tags, the pump 1 running state. Okay, so when this pump turns on, it should turn green. When it's off, it's gray. Now I need a button to turn the pump on, so I'm going to go into my list of buttons, and I'll grab a green button for turning the pump on. We'll link that to the Start Pump tag, and in its properties, I have to tell this widget what to write when I press the button. So I'm going to tell that to write a 1 to the equipment, and I'm not going to bother with the confirmation dialog. Now I'm going to need to do the same with the stop, so I'll grab a red button, put it here beside the green one, link that to my Stop Pump tag, and again, in the properties, we have to tell the widget what to write when the button is pressed, and again, I'm going to do away with the confirmation. So now I should have the ability to start and stop this pump. Let's give it a try. And it does seem to be working. Click in the stop, and there we go. By the way, if you want to try this for yourself, remember that I'm using the tags from the completed tutorial example, which is a change set included with every VTScada application. You can find this in the examples folder if you want to try this out. Now let's go back to the Idea Studio and have a look at how we can reconfigure some of the display characteristics of that pump. And while I'm at it, I'm going to add one more tag because I want to see the water level increasing while the pump is running. So I'm going to use let's go into the gauges, and I think I will choose one of the LCD bars to represent water level. Link that to the tank, which is going to be filled when this pump is running, and select the tank level. Okay, that's enough widgets to work with. Now let's see what we can do as far as the style tag is concerned. So I could go into any widget, open its properties as we did a moment ago, and I can open up the properties of the image and adjust anything I want. So if I want to change the color, or if I want to change the angle, anything, I can open up the advanced, and there's a huge list of properties that we can change. If I just want to change the color though, so that when it's running it's one color and when it's not running it's something different, there's a much easier method I can choose. That's the style tag. So let's open up the tag browser, and at the very, very top level of the tag browser, turning off the Show Children option, you're going to find the System Style Tag. This is the default style tag that comes with every application. Taking a look at its properties, what you will discover is that there are two configuration tabs that set text and color and whether or not it flashes for each of the possible states of the connected tag. So if I'm displaying an analog status that's an off or an on, state 0 or state 1, in state 0, this is configured to have gray as its color. Well, maybe that's not the color you want. Maybe this should be, I don't know, brown. Perhaps with your industry, if something is running, it's not green and safe, it's red and therefore dangerous. So I can change the green to be now a bright red. And I can continue on. If I wanted to have this blink in an alarm state, I might not like to use the same color, so I could choose a different shade for my alarm state now, a deeper red, or I could tell it to flash, but at the moment flashing is reserved for unacknowledged alarms. So all of these different states, I can configure the display colors matching each one. I can now go on to the Advanced tab where I see I've got the ability to configure for states 2 and 3 if I'm using a digital status with 2 IOs or 2 addresses. I can also configure my LCDs using the same tag. So if I want an LCD that's not blue, if perhaps I want orange or green instead, I can do it here. I'll save that for the moment, click on OK, and when I close this, I'm going to discover now that my pump is now going to be red when running and green when stopped. Now that didn't do anything for these 2 buttons, but if you remember, I grabbed a green button for start and a red button for stop. I chose pre-configured buttons that had the colors built in, so those are not used in the style tag. All right, what else can we do with this? Well, you can have multiple styles if you want to. So for example, if I'm going to have not just tank 1 but tank 2, and for some reason I decide I want to use a different color scheme for each, well, maybe for one, let's copy this, paste it into my screen. That will be for tank 2. I've got no way to turn tank or pump 2 on yet, but let's link that to the second tank. And now I want to use a different color scheme. Well, I've only got the one so far, so what I'm going to do is open my tag browser, go back up to the beginning, and I'll take that style tag, copy it, and we'll paste it back in as a new child, and we'll call this new style. The new style now, I'm going to change its properties so that with the LCD, instead of being blue, perhaps this one will be green. And for the unlit segments, instead of a partially transparent blue, we'll go with a partially transparent green and drop the opacity down. Okay, now that gives me something I can use, but I still have to use it. So, closing this, I've got 2 different ways that I can link that tag to show up on this indicator. I could do it within the tag. So in the tag browser, I'm using this to display the level of tank 2. I can go into the properties of that tag, and in this display tab, I can link that to a specific tag. You can see that what it's going to do with no action on my part is simply default to the system style. So I can choose to use my new style. And now I've got a green LCD. I could also do it within the widget itself. So within the widget, it has the ability to link to a style, and I could have chosen my new style. But what if I make it different from the tag? Which one will have precedence? It turns out the widget will. So the rule is that if the widget is connected to its own style, that's what will be used. If not, then it will look to the tag. If the tag has a connection to a style, that's the style that we're going to use. And if neither the widget or the tag have got any particular style tag chosen, it'll simply default back to the system style tag that's built in. Okay, so perhaps I didn't want to do that with the widget, but now we're back to using the tag. This is a nice little shortcut you can use to redefine all of the widgets in one quick motion. Unfortunately, it only works with some of the newest widgets, the equipment, the indicators, some of the lights, and the LCDs The older widgets have yet to be updated to use this, but for the ones where it works, this will save you a huge amount of time.